Good morning. So we are continuing in our World Changes series as we look at the Beatitudes. I'm going to invite you to share something on the comments in a moment, but I thought I'd open with this, just the verses that we are going to be looking at today from Matthew 5. One day, as he saw the crowds gathering, Jesus went up on the mountainside and sat down. His disciples gathered around him, and he began to teach them. Today we jump into the third part of that where it says, God blesses those who are meek, or sometimes humble, for they will inherit the whole earth. Okay, I want to ask you, what was your New Year resolution? You may have already forgotten it. We're over 2 weeks in. I would love for you to just share it on the discussion. Although I notice when you read those comments out of context of watching the screen, it can seem quite harsh, because I was just looking down it, right? And it just says, good morning, good morning, good morning, go on a diet, tidy the house, bake a cake. And you're like, what? What are you having to go? It's like, obviously, people answering the questions for those who were tuned in at that point. But I want to wish you, today is Sunday, 17th of January. I want to wish you happy National Quitters Day. Oh. Today is formally recognised as the day most likely people will give up on their New Year resolution. 17 days in. That's the day, on average, how long people survive on, can I commit to this why in the midst of cold winter, we choose to live by some of the harshest things. We choose to deny us. I'm never eating chocolate again during this cold winter. I'm going to go running every day during this cold winter. And when we are not seeing people as often and we give up the things that we know might not be brilliant for us, or we start to take up the things that we know might be good for us, but often they are challenging. And so, understandably, 17th of January is the day most people quit. We just make a decision that we maybe don't have enough strength to keep it up. Whatever it is that you chose to leave behind from 2020, today is the day you are most likely to just feel too weak to continue and stick with it. We'll come back to that. So in Matthew 5, he talks about inheriting the earth. There's a list of things that Jesus says, these people are blessed and this is what they'll get for it. Inherit the earth. I like the sound of inheriting the earth. So what have I got to do? What does it mean to be meek? I grew up in an era, as you come into the mid-90s, there was a range of T-shirts that came out. They're still around, called No Fear. They started around racetrack sports, about being all out, ruthless, going for it, risking your life, living life on the edge. And I really bought into that. And there was all these, if you are not living life on the edge, you are taking up too much room. And that's the sort of like, yeah, I'm all about that sort of thing. I remember saying to my sister, why do I share these things? Well, I've got 3 sisters who are like 8, 6, and 4 years older than me. So I always saw ages coming way off. And I remember saying to my sister in the mid-90s, like she was turning 30, and I just remember going, 30? That is so old. I am never going to be 30. And she was like, well, of course you will be. I was like, no, I mean it. I will be embarrassed if I make it to 30, because I am going to be living life so on the edge that if I make it to 30, I will have failed in taking enough risks. That's the sort of idiot thing I used to say. But No Fear T-shirts brought out one that really, really spoke to me and challenged me as I was exploring what Christianity means for me as well. And it said, the meek may well inherit the earth. They just better stay well off the track. And it's just that, fine, they can do that, but keep out of my way because I haven't got time for those sorts of people. To me, what the message it was giving and the message I went along with, meekness implied weakness. Keep out of my way. I am busy attacking life and winning. And it's nice that even as a Christian, I could read this and say, Jesus is saying that these weak people will get something one day. Well, isn't that nice for them? Then, cut a bit later forward, and I watch a film that I'm still not sure whether or not as a Christian I'm meant to enjoy, but I'll watch Monty Python's Life of Brian. And we listen in on some of the crowd who are attending the Sermon on the Mount. And they are mishearing some of the words that Jesus is spreading across the valley. What did he say? Blessed are the Greek. Oh, no, blessed are the meek. Oh, well, that's nice. It's about time they got something, isn't it? They've had a hard time, the meek. And again, I understood Jesus to be talking about a certain type of people. I know probably I shouldn't be getting my theology from Monty Python interpretations of the Bible, but these things influence us. And it fitted with my understanding of what meekness means. Those who have not been able to achieve something in their own strength or due to a lack of having strength. So that meant that for me, that's fine that Jesus is talking to those people because I get it. Jesus is for everyone. He's here for them as well. But that's not me. So it's all good, but those words aren't for me. So to inherit the earth, I have to be weak to allow others to walk all over me, to be laughed at, to be thought of as weak and needy. That's not something I was up for. So I figured the earth maybe isn't mine to be inherited. You see, I grew up under Thatcherism. I grew up in the 80s, and you were really encouraged to just go for it, to achieve, to be the best that you could be, to go out and do that. Blessed are the go-getters, the fighters, the climbers, the determined. A quote often wrongly associated to Thatcher, because it did fit with her encouragement for people to achieve for themselves, was, anyone seen in a bus over the age of 30 should consider themselves a failure in life. It is a quote. It was actually by the Duchess of Westminster, but it was often associated. And even just last year, no, in 2021 now, in 2019, Jeremy Corbyn quoted it as something Thatcher had actually said. And it fit with this understanding that you have to go out and achieve. You shouldn't live off others. You shouldn't be needy. And that fit with my beliefs of, I should be achieving for myself. You are rewarded for going out and committing and working as hard as you can in your strength, and then you'll get stuff. But I can't keep blaming my culture for the way that I think. At some point, I change. We all change from being a product of our culture into someone who creates the culture around for those who are around us and for those coming up behind us as well. You see, Jesus suggests a different way, a counter-cultural way, an invitation, a challenge to choose meekness. I've been part of my New Year resolution to try and spend more time with God. I haven't yet given up on it. And in Lectio 365, which is the 24/7 prayer app that encourages you to spend time with God, they were looking at this week. So it was really encouraging to, basically they wrote my talk for me, which is great. But they use this phrase when it just says, meekness isn't weakness. A meek person assumes a posture of humble trust that can stand firm in the face of trouble. A meek person is gentle, courteous, and kind to other people, but man, can they be tough. It was in a spirit of meekness that on the 1st of December 1955, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat in the African-American section of a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. And her action sparked a movement to end racial segregation in America. I don't know if I would be strong enough to take an action like that. Certainly isn't weak. Certainly isn't the action of somebody who is unable to do something in strength. Meekness isn't weakness. It is strength under control. So, it's a spirit of meekness that I choose to come before God and ask him to lead me. In an attempt to try and spend more time with God, I always do things like this better when I ask other people to do it with me. My real agenda behind that, the teaching's not for me, it's for them. I know all this stuff. And if I can just sort of go, oh, I need your help, but actually I want them to learn, I can then not bother learning it myself because I can be making sure that they're learning. And along the way, usually I realize this is actually as much for me as for anybody else, if not more so. But by having others walking along with me in it, it encourages me to keep going, to not quit. An act of meekness is to stand with others, to ask others to stand with you, to acknowledge that maybe you can't do this in your own strength, and having somebody with you will make that difference. So, with that in mind, trying to spend more time with God, I asked the youth team if we should do some Bible study together. We looked at a group of some studies talking around dangerous prayers. That sounds exciting, sounds bold, it sounds go-getting, it sounds, yes, I'm going to go for this, and therefore I'm going to inherit the earth. But it tricked us. I was all up for big, bold prayers that are going to change the world, prayers that will set Wyre Forest on fire, and revival is going to come because we were out there praying for it. Maybe it might involve me or parts of our church standing before the crowds and declaring God's love for us and his challenge to live for him, and that would be how revival would come. But no, these prayers are more challenging and dangerous than that. Because God challenged us to look at ourselves and to pray along these lines. Lord, start with me. Do with me as you see fit. Here I am, Lord. Even Jesus sets us that example. When he says those prayers, Garden of Gethsemane, and he is desperately begging. I relate to it so much of when he says, God, please don't make me do this. This is too much. But God never asks us to do anything that he won't then equip us and strengthen us to be able to do. And so after such a begging, what might seem I'm giving up type of prayer, he just twists it at the end and says, but my will, not yours. God, do as you would do. And I'm just along for the ride. We're going to take a look at a video where, again, God has just continued to speak to us, even in the innocence of watching a family film together. We watched this over Christmas. And this is how Evan chose to pray meekly.
Hello there. Hi. This is Evan Baxter. Just wanted to say thank you for everything. Thank you for the new car and for the house. The house is great. I love it. I mean, I picked it out, but you created matter and everything. So, I just wanted to say that I think Joan makes a good point, and that I am now in a position of great power, and I know that with great power comes great responsibility. So, God, please help me change the world. Okay, that's it. I'm hanging up now. God bless. Well, you. Okay.
Are you tired? Worn out? Burned out on religion? Then come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn to live freely and lightly. In the King James Version, one that many of us might not visit so often, it puts it like this: "Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart. And ye shall find rest unto your souls, for my yoke is easy and my burden is light." Jesus invites us to choose to walk with him. So often when I was growing up, I was told, but Christianity is for the weak. It's for those who need a crutch. It's for those who can't do stuff on their own. When you explore the stuff that Jesus calls you to, you realize maybe it's not the weak. You will not be able to achieve it in weakness, but in a strength that he gives you. When he says, walk with me, the walk he has shown us is a meek walk. He chooses meekness. So if we are to walk with him, he challenges us to do that. I still want to achieve. I still want to be out there. I still want to be go-getting. And I don't have to give that up because I'm a Christian. I don't have to stop trying to achieve stuff and trying to be successful because I'm a Christian. But equally, I don't have to try and do stuff in my own strength and feel a failure when I don't achieve it. Meekness isn't weakness. It is strength under control. Meekness isn't weakness. It is strength under control. Jesus is not referring to groups of people when he reads out these Beatitudes. He's not pointing out that there's the poor and the mourning and the meek and the hungry and thirsty and the merciful and the pure of heart and the peacemakers and the persecuted, as though they are stood in their different sections of the church. He is challenging each of us for how we should all be living our lives, and then telling us the ways in which we'll be blessed by doing so. You can be blessed by accepting who God has made you to be. And then you will be the owner of all the things that money can't buy. You will inherit the earth. I'm going to end with a prayer that I'd love for you to join me in praying if you feel ready. One of my favorite passages in the whole of the Bible, one that keeps coming back to me from when I first became a Christian, it's Psalm 37. And verse 4 talks about, commit your ways to the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. Commit your ways to the Lord's way, to choose meekness. And the other aspects that we're looking at of these Beatitudes over these weeks, commit myself to living in the way that Jesus challenges me to live. Do you think you're ready for that? That being a Christian doesn't just mean believing in who Jesus is. That being a Christian doesn't just mean in holding on for what that reward is of salvation, of being able to spend eternity with Jesus, but how he challenges us to live here today in ways that will make a difference to the world, but also to ourselves. I'm going to say this prayer, and if you feel right, then I'd invite you to repeat it in your own home. Lord, I submit to your way. Help me to choose meekness. Help me not to be someone who throws my weight around, trying to find my worth at the cost of others. Please help me to remember that life is not all about me. So as we come in to land on it, I encourage you, I remind you, meekness is not weakness. The meek don't quit. They are quietly and calmly determined, not for theirs or anyone else's glory, but because this is the way forward, the life Jesus has called us to live. It takes 21 days to successfully form a habit. I challenge you this morning, recommit to your resolution. 17 days in, 4 more days, and it becomes a habit. Commit yourself to following the way of Jesus and make that the habit of a lifetime. Let's worship.